Just for Becca. So welcome everyone to the Women's Empower Network. And it's Nikole, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I love it. I love the way you spell it. Very unique.
Thank you.
And you're in what would you call northern central Florida?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
And I guess it's already warm there.
We've gone from winter to summer in a heartbeat overnight. Air conditioning's been running.
There you go, right? Some places you have to have it. You have
Yeah.
to.
Yes.
So, as we were talking about, and everybody probably knows who listens to these, that my first question is always about your story and journey that led you to what you're passionate about today.
Okay. I will give you the Cliff Notes abridged version because I've been alive almost 55 years now. So it's been a journey. Um, I'm going to start with an injury when I got in a car accident many moons ago and ended up with permanent back damage. So
Mm,
was on a journey of trying just to function and be a mom and, a productive member of society and a wife and all that stuff. And living off a myriad of medications is kind of my story. This is where it gets me to here. But I was on 6 pills 4 times a day, pharmaceuticals, just dealing with trying to cope with life and not understanding the consequences of my actions for over 20 years. Let's fast forward quite a bit. Um, I was having issues with um, my monthly cycle. Things were progressively getting worse. I would be in bed 3 weeks out of the month, just excruciating pain and all the things that go along with it. I won't go into details, but just couldn't get out of bed. My life was miserable. So when I went to my doctor, I kept pushing. I said, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. And eventually I got a PA who heard me. My doctor says, not, there's nothing. You're premenopause. I said, oh, okay. So I got on the computer. I started doing my homework. And he says it can last for 10 years. I'm like, I can't live like this for 10 years. I can't function 1 week out of the month and be a human for 10 years. It's not feasible. So come to pass, I finally got the PA to order scans and ultrasounds and all kinds of things to see what was going on. And it turns out there was a cyst on my uterus the size of a grapefruit by the time they had heard what I had to say.
wow.
Yes. And she pushed, which I was very just frustrated to find out that women have to really fight tooth and nail to get a hysterectomy these days. Back in the day, it was, oh, you don't want any more kids. You want to take that out? No problem. No questions asked. And now it's like, you have to bring your firstborn. So it's crazy, but we won that battle. I had the complete hysterectomy. And the parting words of wisdom from my specialist, because we needed a specialist to come in, it had gotten so out of control. His words to me were, well, it's going to throw you into full blown menopause. I'm like, okay, first of all, I've been in premenopause for at least a year or two before we got to this point. I was suffering for that long. And I had looked at natural alternatives at that point. When I started going into premenopause, I ditched my pills and got into a natural alternative. It was CBD, which fabulous, straight across the board, no THC, none of that funky stuff. That's not my gig. So it was working fabulously, and I told him, I'm like, listen, I've had one hot flash, so if this throws me into menopause, I think I'll be okay. My body was pretty balanced inside. He's like, well, it might make you a little crazy, and that was the only thing he said about the symptoms of menopause. I'm like, pamphlet, something, a book of symptoms that comes along. Nothing. That's all I got. Bless his heart. And I was good. After the hysterectomy, they took everything out. It was an option to leave an ovary or two, and I did not because he said you'll be back to me in 10 years to have that finished up. So I said, well, then just take it. I'm good. I thought my body was doing well. Up to about a year and a half ago, come to find out that post hysterectomy, usually takes 18 to 24 months before your body starts going completely
Mhm.
haywire. I learned that from my functional medicine doctor. And I said, yeah, that's right about the time frame, maybe a little longer. That just the natural, that seemed wasn't cutting it. It was doing most of the good work for me, but it wasn't doing everything I needed. So I started researching, doing more research. So I've learned a lot about menopause and about the human body and our cells and cellular communication. And just I was looking for an answer, and I didn't want to go back to the pills because my doctor wanted to put me on at that time, synthetic hormones. I am a naturalist. I don't, if I have taken aspirin, you have to fight me more because I really don't like to do it.
I get that.
Uh, Yeah. So I found a natural option, something that's changed everything for me. But I think it's really important. I'm really passionate about helping women who are going through the struggle, whether they're premenopause, in menopause, postmenopause, thrown into menopause, um, medically speaking, if it's needed. So I do a lot of education with other women in their magical season of life, if you will. But that's kind of my story. The struggle I'm just God's got me through it. That's my belief, that's my faith. I stand on it firm. So I believe that this is a new season of life for me, and I'm super excited to just share it. I mean, I think it's no longer taboo to talk about what we're talking about in the menopausal world.
Right. Well,
So
and
many
what's
women.
kind of interesting, and I've heard this more times than I care to say, is that it doesn't make sense to me that men are trying to help us with menopause when they don't have an intimate knowledge. It's just something they read out of a book, or it's just a chapter that they had to take to get their license, and they don't take the time to really investigate it. And so you get these really flippant answers.
Yeah.
I mean, I experienced the same thing with my own OB, and by the time I got him to listen, I actually got a personal phone call apology. Um,
Wow.
yeah, he felt, well, he was conscientious. He wasn't in that moment when I was at the doctor's office,
It got
but
to
I
them.
called him on it, So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
you're right.
that's
They're not trained specifically. And I mean, this guy was a specialist that did it. So I would think that he would have a little more, something under his belt to tell me, but they're not. They're not equipped for it.
no, and they may know the anatomy, but they don't know the hormonal changes that we go through. Um,
Yes.
and I think it's wonderful that women like you, unfortunately, having to go through the school of hard knocks,
Yes.
and personal experience, uh, forcing you to have to, not forcing you, but empowering you to actually learn all these things so that somebody else doesn't have to go through it, or they don't have to feel alone. Um, because as you and I both know, every single woman's experience is very different and very unique and very specific to her. Um,
Yes.
that much I do know. There's no two alike.
No, no.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you do work with people one on one or in groups, or how do you serve women?
I have a Facebook page on it's a private Facebook group page, where we have open discussions there. And I do one-to-one. I prefer to have that conversation with somebody so we can find out what's going on. I can listen to their story and find out what's going on and just discuss things. And that's kind of why I call myself the wellness shifter. I like to help people shift their perspectives on their health and wellness because so many people, some women in general, we wait till we're at this point when so much I could have done so much years ago to be not at this point, preventative instead of reactive. So
Yeah.
that is my goal, to just educate women. And I love the one-to-one because, like you said, nobody's the same. God made us all different. So everybody has their story.
it is. I mean, even every woman's menstrual cycle is completely different from nothing. No
Yes.
big deal to, like you said, being in bed for 3 weeks and being in a lot of pain and the whole spectrum in between. So I'm glad that you're here, and if anybody is interested in connecting with Nikole, is we'll put her how to get in touch with her in her private Facebook group in the comments below, the links, because there's no need to suffer, and just to help you get the information that you need, because it's not really, I'm not going to bash doctors. Are just not necessarily trained to this. And so this is fabulous that there's somebody who's been through it and researched it, and then also what your experience of working with different women in different situations and different health conditions, um,
Yes.
to navigate this.
Yes, and I've recently, I have a very good friend of mine, dear friend of mine. She started her own practice, functional medicine. Um, she's in family, it's family medicine, but she is functional doctor, functional medicine doctor, and hormone specialist. So we're working on all kinds of things. As you know, when you get that hysterectomy, you have nothing. Your body produces absolutely nothing but crazy symptoms. So there's bioidentical hormones out there, and I've done my I've done my research because I don't want this. I don't want the synthetics in my life. I don't think our bodies react. So I've started with a regimen with her, and along with what I've been doing with my natural stuff. So it's just been a game changer. Absolutely, it's night and day the way things are progressing. So it's not just one, the table has four legs. That's not just one leg that's going to hold up the table. We need to eat right, exercise, take supplements, quality, and consult. I think more the holistic, I'm a holistic believer. So lining up with somebody who has holistic beliefs, they're going to try everything in their power to give you that aspirin at the last stage of things, all else fails.
Yeah, it was interesting during my time. um, I had a second generation homeopathic doctor who was also an MD. And I remember one of my visits to her was that what we label as menopause and all the conditions isn't natural. It wasn't, originally it wasn't meant for it to be this traumatic
No,
transition. It was just, yeah, and it has to just be with our environment, our Western way of living, the food we eat, the
100%.
stress that we're under. It's a
Yes.
whole nother ball game that we have all these symptoms. So I'm
Well,
so
and back
glad that you do this. Go ahead.
yeah, I would say when our parents, when I was younger growing up, and even my grandmother, I mean, back then, but that's where our food consumption is really, really key. So I help educate in that area as well, because our nutrition is vital when we go through menopause. Somebody's like, you need to eat soy, it replicates estrogen. And then I'm like, and I found out, I'm like, no, 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 eating soy is counterproductive when you're in menopause and have, so it really comes down to what we eat, what we put in our body, because food was not made the same way back then as is now. So their bodies weren't as affected. And you're right, we were meant to go through menopause with ease, maybe a month or two and be done. Not this whole 10 years thing. That's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, I don't even remember my sister or my mother talking
Mm.
talking about it.
No,
Um, yeah. So and I, like you, it was just accidentally I found out things that worked, and I found out what foods would trigger uh hot flashes. And I mean, it would happen like almost instantaneous. It's like I couldn't eat milk chocolate. I would instantly go into hot flash, but if I had a piece of dark chocolate, I was totally fine. It was tiny little things like that,
yeah,
but I had to slow down and really start paying attention. We're so busy and we grab fast food and whatever's convenient and a bag of chips or whatever. And
the-
all that just horribly contributes to this. Our bodies are just screaming at us, please,
They are.
please,
They are. And
please.
it really helps to, and again, that's one of the pillars that I share. Learning how to, you really need to know how to hear your body. You need to be in tune with your body and listen to it, because your body's going to give you these signs before anything, eh, before any symptoms show up. You're going to get signs. So you really need to listen to our bodies closely.
And if
It's
you don't
important.
slow down, your body will make you.
Sooner or later, you're going to get knocked on your behind and you're going to be forced to sit down and take a breath and be like, I'm going stir crazy. I can't sit here anymore.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. You can do it the easy way or the hard way. Your
That's
choice.
it.
Well, before we go today, is there any parting words of wisdom you would like to share?
Um, I would say to the women who are out there that are struggling, don't be afraid to talk about it. Whether it's me or somebody else, find somebody to talk to, because there is so much out there available. We have the internet at our fingertips, literally. So you are your own best advocate at the end of the day. So do yourself a favor and make sure you do your research.
Yeah, but there's so much information.
There is, and that's
That
where I come in.
exactly. I was thinking that. Yeah, because you can kind of dial it in because you've been there and done that.
Right. I help bridge the gap.
There you go. Well, thank you, Nikole, so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.